Hi, folks. I'm Jimmy Hiles,
I'm Lydia Judy.
I'm Derek Lemaster.
and this is Scream Bloody Movies, the podcast where we review a horror movie each week, go over the horror news, and we're happy Derek's slow ass is back, right, guys?
You missed me.
Yes.
So, how are you guys doing? Derek, you were off last week. Do you want to discuss that?
Oh
Fill us
yeah,
in on.
it was your casual Wednesday. We were at home watching TV. Our house caught on fire. The huge. It happens.
Right,
Everybody's
right.
okay.
Everybody's okay. It was just Quincy, myself, and we have a newborn baby. We were
That's
at home
also
and
what
we were
happened during
downstairs.
our time off. So,
Yep. And we heard what sounded like fireworks. I thought my cat had like tipped something over and started dragging it through the house. Nope. I had a battery backup phone bank and it exploded and caught my desk on fire. So, you know, fun
Oh
times.
my gosh, that is so crazy.
very
Yeah,
scary.
So
it
Thankfully,
was
scary.
scary.
thankfully you guys were home. Everybody was safe. Your house is okay.
And
Um,
my son, he was at daycare. And so now he's like, why aren't we going home? We're like, oh, skunks got in our house and made it stinky. We need it cleaned.
Oh.
Because we don't want to tell him that there was a house fire.
Yeah.
These three, it might freak him out. So every time we
Satan
like
visited.
go to pick him up, because our daycare is by our house. He's like, our house is stinky. Yep, it's stinky.
He doesn't believe that. You fart in there all the time. So he's like,
I do.
"Man,
So
dad really did it this time."
I mean, how bad are the skunks compared to your butt, Dad? I don't know.
Went
Oh.
next level. So, Derek, last week we did Dead Silence. Lydia and I
Hmm.
talked about it for a while. Lydia was like, "I like Dead Silence."
Oh my god, I was just like literally spit that out and then almost choked on my coffee right now. Like that just got me. And that's really mean because I sounded so manly in that episode. I think what happened was Jamie, when he was editing, turned my vocals like, you know how you can like make it like chipmunky and like high pitch, or you could go low. I think he turned me down to like sound like a man in that episode. So I'm
did
gonna try
not
to keep my
did not
voice
do it.
high enough on this one.
Did not
I'm
do
just
it.
gonna talk up here the whole time.
I'm always gonna sound like I'm asking a question. Um, but we reviewed Dead Silence. Lydia and I talked about it for a long time. So give us your quick review of Dead Silence, your history of it, and your pumpkin rating.
So history of it. Man, I watched this movie when it came out. I think on VHS. We might have rented it or went to the movies. It was what in 2005 or seven, something like that.
2005. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
and
2007. 2007.
2007.
Yeah. Yeah.
2007. Um, but yeah, I loved the premise of the movie. Even back then, I think it's aged very well. It plays on a deep fear that I think everybody has these. I mean, dolls in general, but then you get a ventriloquist doll. Like the mouth moves and the eyes move, and I mean, who's not going to be afraid of that? So it was, it's a great movie. I have always enjoyed that movie, and I watch it, every couple of years. So, and if I had to give it a pumpkin rating, I would probably give it an 8.25.
Oh wow,
Ah,
he's the highest one. He gave it the highest rating. That never
yeah,
happens. This is a
that never
Screen Bloody
happens.
Movies first, where Derek's outranked us with the ratings.
Yeah, well, he didn't get to hear all of our points on
That's
the,
true on why
you
it's
know,
not quite there. But
yeah.
Lydia gave it a 7.5,
Hmm.
and I gave it a 7. So we all liked it a lot. So I'm glad
Yes.
that
So I
we.
did. I watched the
Mhm.
episode, or I watched most of the episode, and I mean, I think Lydia had some good points. Jason Stackhouse does do a very have a wooden
Jason
performance.
Stackhouse.
Uh,
Also, while we're here, Akanize the movie. Who would you Akanize
I would
Dead
probably
Silence
do
with?
the cop. I would probably do. Honestly, I think the weakest character in the entire
Mm,
movie was the caretaker. So if you were
yeah.
just like looking to like really try to polish the movie up, I'd probably make him the caretaker. Um, to boost that performance a little bit. But yeah, he'd be the cop if I really had my way about it. He fits
Yeah.
that profile. He could walk through the whole movie talking to Jason, saying, "Thrill me."
Yes.
That would have made it a 10. I would have given that movie a 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No question.
I think Jamie's prediction was that you would Akanize the dummy.
I want to know what a Tom Atkins ventriloquist doll would look like.
Somebody out there has to have
Super
it.
handsome.
Guys, if you can create a Tom Atkins ventriloquist doll, first of all, I will buy it. And set it in my bed at night so my wife can be afraid. But I will feel safe and I'll be like, thrill me.
Well, as soon as you do that, the gig's up, man. She's gonna be like, "Dang it, Jamie."
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so we're gonna get into the horror news today, and Lydia, we're gonna start with this
Okay.
because I know you love it. So we've got some Monsters news.
Uh-oh.
So we have here a picture of Grandpa, the guy that's playing Grandpa at least. I'll share it with you. Being fit for a coffin.
Oh.
Have you seen this?
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, oh, there's Sherry Moon, your favorite, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right there. There he is in the whole Munsters get up, being fit for his custom coffin.
Wow.
So, the Munsters are still moving forward. What do you think of that? Does that get you excited? Is that
Well, not really, because it just looks like a guy standing in a box.
yeah, that's true.
It doesn't really look like anything. He's got a mask on. He's not in like makeup. He does have a cape on. But he doesn't
He's all
have like that really great wig and
that he has in the,
makeup.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm really excited about.
He looked great in the actual pictures.
Yes.
For sure. This is some good news. Scream has been rated R for strong bloody violence. So we don't have to worry about a neutered PG-13 Scream movie.
Well, I wasn't worried about that. They can't do that, right? That's not a thing.
I don't know. They made a PG-13 Die Hard movie. You know, I mean, they did do that.
That's before they knew better, you know? I feel like they should know better by now.
That's true. You know, when I think of those, like, you think about those PG-13 horrors of like the early 2000s, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like the Ring, which we'll get to, it's really good. But then you have like you know, The Grudge or The Return or The Eye.
Mm-hmm. The Unborn.
The Unborn. Yes, that's another one. And PG-13
Sure, there's 1,000
horror.
more.
There are PG-13 horror just is hard to pull off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think is Insidious rated PG-13? The first Insidious, or is it R for disturbing? Is it R for like disturbing crap? Because it could be. I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't have to be rated R to be scary. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, like The Ring was terrifying when it came out.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
that was PG. I didn't realize that was a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, it was.
I mean, that makes sense because there's nothing really too over the top about. I mean, but it's a terrifying movie still.
Yeah, Insidious is PG-13 as well.
Wow.
But a very good, I mean, that's a very good PG-13 rated horror movie.
Love
And
it.
of course, one of the best horror movies ever made, uh, Poltergeist is PG. Not even PG-13 because it didn't exist yet, just PG.
Wow. PG.
That's
Just
wild,
take your
right?
children. Take your children to see it. They'll
Take
love
your
it.
children to see this terrifying film. I
Man, I love
love,
that movie.
yeah, we're gonna do that one here soon. After we get through our Christmas list, which is coming this month, we'll get to that one. Jordan Peele's new horror movie, Nope, has finished filming.
Ah.
Um, it's his third movie. It's very mysterious. We don't know much about it. We know that I'm gonna mess up Daniel's name here. Daniel Kaluuya, who plays who was the main character in Us, or not Us, Get Out,
Mm-hmm.
is starring in it.
Love him.
Stephen Yeun from Walking Dead and Joe
Mm-hmm.
Mayhem or Joe Lynch's Mayhem is in it. Kiki Palmer is in it. Um, so what we have is this poster here. You want to see the poster?
Yeah.
All right, let me
I
show
bet
you the
it's
poster.
good.
It's pretty cool. It's very Spielbergian,
Mm.
actually. Where is it? All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All righty, here we go. Here's the poster.
Oh.
It's a phenomenal
Huh.
poster, isn't it?
Nope. Yeah. That is good.
Do you see the Spielbergian vibes I'm talking about?
Yes, absolutely.
Like just
The
feels
mountains, the
the
stars.
yep.
I think the stars is what's doing it.
Yeah, the stars and just the whole vista feels like an
Yeah.
Amblin movie. It has like an Amblin-esque feel to it. I don't know we don't know what the movie's about yet.
Huh.
So we're kind of in the dark on it, but we'll see. That's pretty exciting.
Yes.
This is interesting and very exciting. So, have you seen the trailer for Guillermo's new movie, Guillermo del Toro's new movie?
No.
You haven't?
I don't think so. What is it?
Nightmare. It stars Bradley Cooper. It takes place in like the 1920s.
Oh.
Has um, Kate Blanchett in it.
Okay.
So he's promoting this movie, which looks phenomenal. I saw the trailer for it the other day for the first time and was like, oh, okay, I'm there for that. Right?
Nightmare Alley?
Yeah, looking it up.
Yes. Absolutely.
So he's doing the rounds for that. It looks great. I mean, anything Guillermo does, I'm in, I'm all in on Guillermo, of course.
Yes, me too. And it's got a great cast.
Yeah,
Holy cow.
phenomenal cast.
Oh my goodness. This is going to be
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah. So I'm excited
love
for that.
Guillermo.
I love Guillermo too. So Guillermo was being interviewed, and it looks like he said that his adaptation of H.P. Lovecraft's At the Mountains of Madness is still in development. So a Guillermo directed Lovecraft story would just be the greatest thing that I don't think the world could handle it. With how amazing that would be.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's how I feel about everything Guillermo does. Honestly, I love his movies.
So he says I went through the cupboards and found The Count of Monte Cristo and At the Mountains of Madness. Those were a couple ones that I presented first. The thing with Mountains is the screenplay I co-wrote 15 years ago is not the screenplay I would do now. So I need to do a rewrite. Not only to scale it down somehow, but because back then I was trying to bring the bridge the scale of it with the elements. He says, right now I'm developing 2 screenplays, one of which I think will be the right away, which he'll get to right away next. But he says that his original, at the Mountains of Madness, the original version in 2006, originally had Tom Cruise attached to star, which would have been phenomenal. I would have went and seen that movie immediately. Like, wait, Guillermo directing Tom Cruise in a Lovecraft adaptation? Okay. So that's one of the piece of Guillermo news I have. I also have a second piece of Guillermo news. It's Guillermo Day. So, he is actually producing an anthology series that's coming out called The Cabinet of Curiosities. Okay. The directors of the series will include the director of Mandy, Panos Cosmatos, Jennifer Kent, the director of The Babadook, Vincenzo Natali, the director of Splice, and David Pryor, the director of The Empty Man. So it has like a bunch of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 episodes, it looks like, of this anthology series. What do you think of a Guillermo-produced horror anthology series?
Love it. Love it. But all that sounds awesome.
Yeah. What did you think of The Babadook? I mean, we'll do a full review of it.
Don't get me started on The Babadook. Okay. I love The Babadook.
So we'll definitely...
It's out there.
We'll definitely do an episode on that one then.
Whew. Hi, I'm back.
So now that you're both back, we're going to restart the episode full. Now that you're both here, we got some big casting news, Derek. So remember I don't know, it was several episodes back, we talked about the movie Renfield. That new Renfield movie.
Nope. Doesn't ring a bell.
Nope.
Derek's been through a lot since then. That's
true. Yeah. That's true. Well, anyway, it's a new Nicholas Hoult from Bodies and X-Men.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he is playing Renfield in this new movie. It's a movie, about it's like a comedic version of it, remember? That's what the plot is. So they cast Dracula, Derek. And Dracula is going to be played by Nicolas Cage.
Is this like a satire piece?
It is. So it got the plot details are currently unknown. Those believed to take place during present day and is not a period piece. So that we don't really know much except that Nicolas Cage is going to play Dracula. What are your thoughts on just Nicolas Cage playing Dracula? Period.
Man, I could see it go really, really well or really, really bad. That's such a great question. I don't know. I'd like to know more details, like kind of the mood of the movie before I were to make a prediction.
What if I told you that it was similar in tone to Vampire's Kiss with Nicolas Cage? The one where he thinks he's turning into a vampire.
It's been a long time since I've seen that movie too, but
all you need to know is
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Huh? That's all you have to do.
Very good.
You know your alphabet. I didn't misspell anything!
Isn't there a meme like this? Like,
Yeah,
like that?
yeah.
Yes. Okay, I feel like
With the big eyes.
if you haven't seen Vampire's Kiss, you have to go watch it right now.
Yes,
Just
it
pause
is.
this podcast.
It is a movie that exists.
It is a movie that exists, and you should see it because it's like historic at this point.
Yeah. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this casting decision, Lydia?
I really like it. I think it's great. I think either direction, any direction they go with it, I think Nicolas Cage will be perfect to play Dracula. Even though Vampire's Kiss was notoriously kind of insane.
Yeah.
I
Definitely.
like that movie. I don't know. I saw it when I was young and I was just like, yeah, this is great. He's like puts in the vampire teeth.
Yeah. Derek.
I do see where it. I think it's probably going to be entertaining any direction it goes. But,
Yeah.
I do. I think he could do a really good job. I could see that from him.
I
So I will go see this movie. It
I
sounds
think
great.
he's already a vampire, isn't he? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's
Oh, yeah.
like a kooky ass son of a bitch that has like he has some castles and shit that he actually owns.
Well, I think he used to. He had some tax issues. I
Well,
think his agent like ripped him off.
So, I
Wow.
mean, he went full MC Hammer.
Well, yeah, but man, I might be getting it wrong, but I thought a lot of it was due to like who handled his money.
Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
he also was buying shit like dinosaur heads and
Oh,
castles.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
I
who doesn't
think-
want to own a dinosaur head?
I would like to see him like a serious Dracula. Like I can kind of see the like Christopher Lee vibe from him.
Yeah.
He's got
Yeah.
like the longer face and like he is getting older now and I want to see that. Like I want to see Christopher Lee kind of in this portrayal a little bit.
Yeah, I think that would be good. I would like that. I think he'll do good regardless. I think he's a really good actor. He can kind of do whatever he wants as long as he's.
Yes.
It depends on which version comes to play. I mean, Seth Rogen does tell that insane story about when he met with him to do the Green Hornet, his Green Hornet adaptation. He said he
yeah.
met with him, and Nicolas Cage said he wanted to do the part with a Jamaican accent, and he launched into a random monologue that wasn't even in the script.
Oh my gosh.
Seth Rogen just kind of like, okay.
Oh
If there
my
is-
gosh.
If there is one word I think that really just defines Nicolas Cage at this point, it's eccentric.
Oh, definitely eccentric. That's so funny.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Now let's get to the reason that we're here. The reason for the season, as it were. Because nothing says December like Adam Green's 2006 slasher classic, Hatchet.
Yes.
So let's talk about, like we do every week, our experiences with this movie and our introduction to it and whatever. Let's start with you, Lydia.
Oh, well, this movie, like I was telling you guys this earlier, but this movie was not on my radar, like at all. Like I did not know anything about this movie. It came out in, what did we say, 2006?
2006, yes.
I was definitely not trying to watch anything like this. I would have been horrified in 2006 of this movie. But yeah, so Jamie told me about it, and I was like, okay. He was like, you have to watch it. You have to go watch it. So I went and watched it, and it blew my mind. And I was like, this is the craziest thing. How did I not know about this movie? I don't know how I just missed it the entire time. But I am really glad that Jamie made me watch it. And it's a classic for me now.
Derek, what is your experience with Hatchet and your journey with it?
Oh man, I mean, I don't even remember the first time I watched this movie. I've watched it so many times. It's one of the horror movies I own personally. I mean, it's great. It's a throwback to the old slashers. It's got humor baked into it, which, compared to the old slashers, it's definitely got a little bit more of a humorous tone to it. And, some of the gore is kind of outlandish, but that's the beauty of the movie, if you will. And it's a fun movie. You can tell it was a passion project. And honestly, all the following movies that preceded it, you can tell that they're still having fun. It's a passion for them. So yeah, it's a great movie. I love it.
So Derek probably doesn't remember this, but when Hatchet first came out in around 2007, when it came out on DVD, it was DVDs back in those days. We rented this and went over to Joey's and watched it, and really enjoyed it. We liked it a lot. We were like, this movie's funny. This is fun. This movie's fun. It's just fun camp. We liked it a lot, but it just kind of fell. I liked it, but it didn't hit for me until several years later when I watched it again, and I was like, this movie's amazing. This movie's so funny. And then after that, I stumbled upon Adam Green and Joe Lynch's great podcast, the Movie Crypt. You should listen to that as well after you listen to this podcast. But I rediscovered Hatchet again. I went back. I was like, oh yeah, let me rewatch that, and it was game over. Victor Crowley was like, joined the boys. He joined Freddie and Jason, and of course the Shape as one of the boys. So yeah, I also have a great fondness for this movie. So let's get right into it, guys. Let's dig into Hatchet. So the movie opens on the bayou with a man named Samson and his son Ainsley, and they're hunting for crocodiles. And Samson is played by who? The great Robert Englund.
Yes.
So Lydia, what did you feel like the first time you watched it? When you first put this in, you saw Robert Englund.
Yes. And I was like, oh, hey, that's Robert Englund. That's probably exactly my reaction. Oh, hey, look at that. That's awesome. And then it just gets crazier and crazier.
Yeah, then it just doesn't stop. So
yeah.
So Robert Englund is here as Samson, and he's hilarious in this role of Samson. He's so funny.
Yes.
He's just this crotchety old man, and they're trying to hunt these gators, and he ends up Ainsley has to take a pee. So he's peeing off the side of the boat, and he gets the gator comes up and almost bites his sack off, as he says. So then he gets onto the land and has to pee, and Samson hears a noise, so he goes to investigate. Or I mean, it's like, hey, I think the gator's here. He grabs a spear, ready to take out this gator, and Ainsley doesn't hear anything from his dad. So he goes over and he sees him gutted in the dismembered, basically, not even really gutted, dismembered in the boat.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then good old Ainsley is dispatched, let's just say. What do you guys think of Ainsley's death?
Well, they didn't show it.
Yes.
Oh no, Ainsley.
Yeah,
Okay.
Ainsley.
I was thinking. So I was like, I know
So-
you guys are particular about not showing deaths happen on the screen. in
So
the
that
horror movie.
off-screen death didn't bother me because it's there to set up the suspense.
Right.
And we get all the rest of Hatchet's kills are on screen.
That's
Beautifully on screen. So,
true. Yes, very beautifully.
so Ainsley gets like ripped apart, you know.
Mhm.
His insides, his blood thrown on the trees, which becomes like a Hatchet joke that just never ends. Every time somebody's killed, they splash the trees with blood.
The effects look a little bit too good, I would say. Like
Yeah.
they're so on point. They're
They're great.
fantastic.
John Carter
And-
Buechler.
Yes. And the funniest thing to me is like the comedy that's in it at the same time, because as he's getting like his spine ripped out, he's just yelling, "It hurts!"
Yeah. He gets slammed, his teeth get knocked out.
Yeah. I was like, what a funny thing to scream while you're getting your spine ripped out. It hurts.
So,
Like, yeah, we know it hurts. Thank you.
what do you think of this opening, guys?
Love it.
So first off, it threw me off the first time I watched it because I'm like, Robert Englund's in this movie, yeah.
Mhm.
And then like within the first like 5 minutes, he's dead. And you're like, what just happened? Kind of like Drew Barrymore in Scream.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
like, this isn't where I parked my car. So it was a really good kind of fake out as to the direction of this movie. But it was good. And yeah, that opening death scene with Ainsley, it's fantastic.
Sets the tone. Sets the tone.
Definitely.
Mhm.
And you can definitely like, I think at one point they throw like a spleen or something against the tree.
Yeah. And then just buckets of blood splash on it.
Yeah.
So we cut from there to Mardi Gras in Nolans. And one of the first people we see on screen is our great director, Adam Green. As Joel David Moore, Ben, and Marcus walk by. Adam Green's the third one. He's the friend that decides to stay back. So we're introduced to our two of our leads, Ben and Marcus. And we find out that Ben's getting over a breakup, that Marcus is trying to, basically just score some tail while he's in New Orleans. And Ben's like, I'm over this. It's hard for me to get over her, and I've got to go. So he's like, I heard about this haunted swamp tour.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go check it out. So he leaves, but Marcus, being a good friend, can't leave him. So he goes with him, and they head off down the way towards Reverend Zombie's shop, which is where this haunted this haunted boat tours happen. And they have some really funny dialogue between them as they're bantering back and forth. There's some really good stuff. There's a bit where he talks about sleeping with a girl and getting the clap. And he says, what are you talking about? He's like, I don't know. What do you mean you couldn't see it happen? And she was scratching herself. That waitress was scratching herself the entire time. She said she had allergic reaction to the dishwashing. Man, you shouldn't sleep with scratchy people. This is nothing to do with. And that there's a callback to that, and a little bit later we'll get to it.
Oh yeah.
So they end up at Reverend Zombie's, and Reverend Zombie is another horror icon cameo by the great Tony Todd.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells them that he doesn't do ghost tours anymore. And he starts launching into this elaborate story, and they're all at the edge of their seats as he's talking about this terrifying ordeal that happened the night before, only to find out that the woman hit her head and then sued the shit out of me for negligence. And then he sends them down to another shop that does the the Haunted What do you think of Reverend Zombie's scene?
Amazing.
It's great that in the later movies they expand that role.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because just almost anything that he's in is pretty good. So,
Yeah.
I was glad that they included the cameo. I'm glad that they expanded it in the preceding sequels. And for the little part that he played, he did a great job.
Dude, he's so funny. There's a line in there at the end that's an
I
ad
got
lib.
to feed my bird.
So fun. I got to tend to my birds. That's an ad lib.
Got to tend
And
to my
it's
bird.
so fucking goofy.
I have to go tend to the birds. Be careful walking on the sidewalk.
It cracks me up. So when I watched it last night, I laughed so hard. I was like, and you hear in the background, you hear birds. They got 80-yard birds in there. Loved it. So they end up at this other shop where they meet. We're introduced to more main characters here. The guy running the place is Sean, and he's an Asian man that speaks with a Cajun accent.
Yes.
Come on now, down, y'all. And then we're introduced to Jenna and Misty, who are Misty is like a porn actress essentially, and Jenna is an up and coming actress that is trying to get her big break. And they are basically starring in this video for this guy named Doug Shapiro, Mr. Shapiro as they call him. And he's filming stuff for Bayou Beavers. So the first time we meet them, they have their tits out, and they are wooing at the camera, and they're making out and stuff. And then he's like, "Oh, I've got to change batteries," and she's like, "Do you ever brush your teeth? Lick me." And they just have this like banter,
non-stop dialogue of just like slutty insults.
Yeah, it's so funny. And then we're introduced. Go ahead, Derek.
Oh, I'm gonna launch into a story. So whenever you feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So look, we're obviously adults now, and this is not something that we would do. Yeah, it's something we'd probably still do. But anyway, when we were younger and right out of high school, so we used to sit around and like come up with like Girls Gone Wild alternatives. I know that Joey and I used to do this. Did you?
Yeah, I was not involved in this.
I'm not involved in this anyway, because
no.
We're teenage guys and we're like, oh yeah, we should do that. And I would have never have come up with Bayou Beavers, but some of the names that we came up with were just like ridiculous. But anyway, it's like that childhood, like male thing that this guy grew up and was like, you know what, I'm gonna fulfill my dreams. We might cut this bit out, but anyway, it did touch a nerve in my
nostalgia.
Memory. Yeah, I was like, I remember when we used to think about those types of things.
I remember when we used to think about how
creative porn names.
I used to do that. I used to try to come up with creative porn names.
Yeah,
I always, like I remember. I actually wrote this bit for a stand-up because I found this. I saw this video called "Field of Wet Dreams," which I thought was just the funniest title for a porno movie. And I said, hopefully, both movies don't include the line, "Dad, would you like to have a catch?"
Oh my god!
It's a joke for you guys that I wrote.
We might cut this bit. Who knows? But
we'll leave that bit. That's good stuff. That's good stuff. Then
like,
we're introduced to the what?
I said Lydia's probably like, you guys.
So then we're introduced to Mr. and Mrs. Permadio, and they're an older couple that's going on this bayou haunted tour as well. So, what do you guys think of the whole scene inside the shop where we're introduced to all of these characters?
I really love it. I think I love every single one of these characters. And
Yes,
that's
very
gotta be why
important. Yeah,
this movie stands out, because these characters are all actually pretty great, even though some of them are like not good people, but they're still like fun and likable anyways.
yeah, they're all fleshed out in their own way. They feel like excuse me, they feel like living, breathing characters as opposed to just stock, and because they're each embedded with personality, which makes them fun. So yeah, we go up to the bus, and we're introduced to our lead character, which we didn't know yet, but is our lead character, Mary Beth Dunstan. And so Ben sits beside her, Marcus sits beside Jenna, and he's kind of like flirting with her. And there's this super funny scene where Ben is trying to like break the ice with Mary Beth.
Yeah.
And he starts talking about, oh, Mary Beth, that's great. That's like 2 names. There's Mary. Then there's Beth. That's a nice coat. And then Marcus just slaps him in the back of the head.
I'm Ben.
Mary Beth.
Mary Beth, that's a great name. Because it's actually 2 names, you know. Most people just have one, and that's kind of boring. Ben. But Mary Beth, it's Mary and it's Beth. That's a nice coat. So do you have any pets, or?
I was watching it last night.
Honestly, does this even remotely sound like a conversation I would have?
I felt like I was watching you on screen with this dialogue.
He's like, so do you have any pets?
Yeah.
Oh, Lydia. This is a perfect time. This is a perfect opportunity to tell the story. So we once went to a strip club, right? And,
tell all of our secrets.
I mean, we were so young. Anyway, we went to a strip club, and
Last week.
I was. I probably shouldn't tell this story where I'm at.
Tell it. You already started it.
And I was having a conversation with this lady.
Derek was getting a lap dance.
And there was time to spare because it was in the middle of the song, and anyway, so I'm sitting there having a conversation with her, and I was like, man, you know what I'd really love to do? And she gave me this weird look, what? And I was like, I'd love to interview one of you guys. And she's like, are you a reporter? I said, no. And there's a pause. I'm like, is that the weirdest thing anybody's ever said to you? And she was like, yes.
You know what's crazy though? Is I think that all the time. It's I would just love to interview these people.
I would love to interview that person.
I want to know.
I just love the
what
fact
is
that
your life like?
I love the fact that she asked you if you're a reporter and you just say no. You should have said yes. Ray, when she asked if you're a god, you say yes.
Yeah.
That's
way
awesome.
less awkward. You could have just been like, yeah, I am. Oh, okay. And then you could have just played it off, and instead you're like, and then she wanted to dance with him, and Derek got up and ran.
Rude. That's rude. But anyway, yeah.
then we watched the surveillance footage back, and Derek was like, "Is this in color or black and white?"
Oh my gosh, Jamie's throwing them all out at you right now.
Hey, listen, he was
man.
off. He was off for a week. We have to put him back in. So, yeah, but the dialogue between them, that bit just cracks me up. And then while they're driving, Marcus is starting to flirt with Jenna, and they're like having some cutesy conversation. And then she scratches her inner thigh, and he goes, "Man."
He goes,
Yeah.
"Damn it."
It's so funny. Such a great
That is funny.
callback.
Yes,
Such a great
that is a good
callback.
one.
Cracks
And
me
then
up.
the older couple are like, "Oh, we got a filmmaker over here."
This line is so funny. Yeah, go ahead and tell it.
He's like, "Oh, what kind?" The older sweet couple is sitting there, and they're like, "Oh, what kind of movies do you make?" And he's like, "Well, have you ever heard of Bayou Beavers?" And the old man and woman both say yes and no at the same time.
Yeah,
The
she goes,
man's
"No."
like, "Yes."
Yeah, I love that.
And
He's
she's
like,
like, "No."
"Yes, no."
Yeah.
After she says no, he like changes it. Such a
Yes.
relatable, hilarious joke.
Nice camera. Making a movie? Well, what do you know, Lovekins? We've got ourselves a director over here.
How exciting. What kind of movie is it?
Well, have you ever heard of Bayou Beavers?
Sure.
Oh.
Oh,
I laughed really hard at that too. I was
It's
like,
so
"God dang
good.
it!" So they get on the boat, and that's when he's trying to start the boat. He meets. There's a guy yelling at him to stop because it's off limits, and they're like, "Who's this guy?" He's like, "Victor Crowley. You can't go out." Oh, that's just old Jack Cracker. He's crazy. He drinks his own pee. So then they drive off, and Jack Cracker's like, "You all are gonna die," and then he pulls out his piss and drinks it.
So gross. That part grossed me out so bad.
I forgot about it. So when he pulls, I was like, "Wait a minute! I think he
Oh.
pulls out his pee," and so he did. I was like, "That is just a perfect setup punchline," because it makes it seem like he's just lying about this guy. Say, "Oh, he's crazy. Don't listen to a word he's saying."
Yeah.
But he really does drink his own pee.
Yes. It's like he was right, but also he does drink his own pee. So obviously he's crazy.
Yeah,
But he enjoyed it so much that it made me sick to my stomach to see him
he
just take a swig.
like he took a swig of like Gatorade. He's like, refreshing.
Yeah, and he like burps a little bit. Oh, it's like the nastiest thing.
So while they're on the boat, they're doing the tour, and we find out that Sean knows absolutely nothing that he's talking about. Like, he just knows nothing. He's reading off these cue cards, and the story he tells about Victor Crowley is hilarious. He's like, "Oh, that's old Victor Crowley's house. Yeah, his dad killed him with a hatchet right in his face on account he was so ugly or something."
Yes.
And then he's like, "What's that over there?" I like when they're in the bus. There's a bit we missed. When they're in the bus and he's driving along, and he starts talking. He's like, "The reason we bury our dead under the cement is because their spirits just rise up, and we have to keep them down." And he's like, "Oh, I think it's because of the sea level." Yeah, I definitely read it was because of sea level. It's not because of sea level.
Freaks out. I said no.
Yeah, I said no.
I said no!
So there's more of that. They see the marsh vapors on the fog, and he's like, "Oh, there are some spirits right there now." No, that's marsh vapors. No, those are the spirits. And at this point, they see Victor Crowley in the woods. They catch a glimpse of him. And Mary Beth this whole time is saying, "Hey, she's been quiet, and she's like, I'm not here to make friends." And she's the only one that's serious throughout this whole group. Everybody else is having fun, making fun of everybody. And so she ends up they end up getting stuck. Sean wrecks the boat, gets it stuck, and Mr. Parmiato decides he wants to climb across the branch here to get to the other side, right? And as he's doing that, he falls and like racks himself pretty much and gets attacked by a gator. Gator bites his leg. And so they end up all pulling him to shore, pulling him to safety. And this is when Mary Beth tells them, we've got to get going. If we stay in these woods, we're going to die. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? And we find out at this point that Sean's a fake. He starts speaking with the Chinese accent.
Yes, I love that character so much.
He's speaking with like a really terrible Chinese accent.
Well, he starts like cussing in Chinese because he gets so frustrated that he just starts like cussing in Chinese, and everybody's like, "What the?"
So he starts speaking with this Chinese accent, and he's like, "I told you Victor Crowley's house is back there," and she's like, "No, it's not, because it's right here." And she points, and it's like right there. They're right beside Victor Crowley's house. And they found out the only way back to the road is through the remains of Victor Crowley's house, that way. So they start to walk that way. Mary Beth says, this is a bad idea. Let's not do it. And because she pulls out a gun. She has a gun. Everybody knows she has a gun now because she shoots the gator. And the couple start to walk towards the...
Hey guys, I wasn't able to finish this episode because I had to go help my wife with her newborn baby. But anyway, Jamie and Lydia are going to do a great job from here on out, and I will hope to see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
The older couple. They start walking towards the house, and Vic, they're telling them to stop, stay back, and they're like, we're going to do what we want. And so they're like, the good Lord will protect us. He's watching over us. Then Victor Crowley appears, and he fucks Jim up first.
Yes, he does.
What does he do to him? He cuts him right
into
here,
his shoulder,
and then just keeps hacking. And cuts him basically
chops his whole
torso in half and rips him apart. And then my favorite kill of the movie happens. Which is
probably the best kill I've ever seen in my life.
One of the best, right? When he rips her jaw.
He grabs her jaw and rips her head clean off. And the camera spins around and catches the entire thing with this really clever cut in there, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah, perfect hidden cut. Yeah, perfect hidden cut when he goes around.
You just see the skin of her cheek just rip completely off, and it is the most beautiful thing. I mean, it's terrifying. Yeah, and then you see her tongue just
wiggle.
Just all that's left is her bottom jaw and her tongue. Like, everything else is gone, and it's so nasty. But
yeah,
the skin ripping is...
When you see it,
It's beautiful. They nailed it.
Yeah, I remember the first time I watched this movie, and I saw that jaw rip. Yes. I was like,
That's the thing. That's the thing that stands out the most to me in this entire movie is that kill.
Yeah, I was like, that is next level. That's a great That's a great kill.
It's so nasty.
So then so everybody runs, of course. Nobody wants to be around.
Could you imagine?
No, that's
I would never stop running.
And this is the first time we actually get a look at Victor Crowley as well. What do you think of Victor's design?
I think he's pretty gnarly. I think it's so over the top, but it works because of the comedy in the movie. I think the over the top, like, mutated design really works.
Yeah, and his hatchet face. We skipped the part where we get Victor's backstory.
Yes, we did.
So Mary Beth gives the backstory to Victor Crowley, which is that he was. It's similar to Pumpkinhead, really, to degree. Pumpkinhead 2, with the creepy old guy.
Yes.
But Victor Crowley's backstory is he's born mutated, and we find out why in Hatchet 2, in case you're wondering. But Victor Crowley's born deformed, and his dad raises him by himself and keeps to him. When I said Pumpkinhead, he reminds me of the dad in Pumpkinhead because of how much he loves his son. Like Lance Henriksen loves his son in Pumpkinhead.
Yes.
And Thomas Crowley loves Victor. And so he keeps him out of sight because everybody makes fun of him and everything. And one night these kids want to get a look at him, so they throw firecrackers on the porch, and it catches the house on fire, trapping poor Victor inside. So Thomas comes home and can't put out the fire, so he grabs a hatchet to chop down the door, but Victor was on the other side, so when he knocks through the door, he hatchets Victor in the face, killing him. And then he becomes a hermit and lives in that shack by himself till the day he dies of a broken heart. And then Victor's ghost is a repeater and reappears, reliving the night he was murdered, basically. And kills anything that comes in his way. What do you think of Victor's backstory in that whole sequence?
It's so sad. It's so sad. Very much like Pumpkinhead, where you just have this relationship of just these two people, a father and son, who love each other so much. They're all they have in the world. And except in this case, he kills his own son, which is the difference, where in Pumpkinhead, his son gets killed by someone else. But like, he killed his own son. Like, that's so heartbreaking. And it's like, I don't even like to think about it, because that's how heartbreaking it really is. Like, oh,
yeah, so it works very well as a backstory for this character. I feel like,
yeah, it's oh my god, it's so sad. Like he's just trying to cut the door down. He's just trying to chop that door down so he can get out, and he just chops him right in the face,
right in the kisser. So the rest of this movie is pretty much just people running and dying. So we're gonna kind of get it. So I have to kind of.
We have this emotional backstory, and then it's just like dead.
And it's funny and stuff. We just have to get into. I have to remember the order. You know what I mean? Of how it happens. So Mary Beth shoots Victor, and he falls. And they're like, "Well, I think he's dead, right? Is he dead?" And they're like, I don't know. And freaking Marcus is up in a tree. When they all regroup, he's just up in a tree. And
which is where he should have stayed.
Yes,
he probably would have been fine up there.
Probably. So he's just up in a tree, and they're like, "How far is it there?" And whatever, and they look for it, and they can't really see it. He says, it's way too far away, but it's that way. So they convince him to come down, so they all stick together. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Shapiro runs into Victor.
Yeah, and he's hiding in a bush, and he's just, the scene is so long of him just like just hiding in this bush looking around, and you're like, I felt like that went on for a little bit too long. That's just me, but I guess it builds the suspense.
He drops his camera, it rolls under a separate bush.
Yes.
And then talk about his death.
Well, it does not go very well for him after that. I believe he gets up, and he gets up to run because he sees a shadow, He gets up to run. He jumps up and he runs straight into Victor Crowley, which is like 100 feet tall, giant.
Yeah.
Basically, is what he looks like. And I mean, this guy, he just is like a tree compared to that guy. He was huge.
Yeah.
I mean, and so he just runs into him. He's just totally solid. And he just looks up and he just grabs him and twists his head off. I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
He twists it all the way around to
he
the point where it comes off.
Yeah, to like 360.
Yeah.
And then like rips it off. And the blood guys are.
There's like this like mist,
red mist
that comes up. I mean, I was.
What do you think of his death?
Dang, that looked so good. That mist comes up, and it's like not only is it just like mist, but it's like looks like it's actually like his breath combining with the blood. It's like like his heartbeat.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Great death. So he's
A+.
gone. He's a goner. A+. So they end up discovering his bag, and we find out who Mary Beth is. Mary Beth's the sister of Ainsley and the daughter of Samson from the beginning of the movie. So she's there looking for her family, which she fears was taken by Victor Crowley. So they find Shapiro's bag. And his wallet is in his bag. And they look at it and they find out that his name is not Shapiro. What was his name? What was his actual name?
I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
It's just not Shapiro. And you're
so they find out that he's not. He is he's a guy that basically is just getting his own collection. He goes around pretends that he's a porn producer. So that way he can film these girls and give them their big breaks, but he really just takes it home so he can like jerk off to it essentially. And the Misty says the best line. So first Jenna says, like I can't, I studied at NYU. I can't believe all this is happening. I can't believe I have to do all this stuff. I'm a serious actress. And Misty goes, "Oh, so you mean he's not really a director? Oh man, I can't believe I've fallen for this 3 times."
Yeah. She has some of the funniest lines too, and she plays them so well.
Oh yeah.
When they find that she finds the bag, and the 2 girls are having another argument where they're like just calling each other names and saying dirty things. And whatever.
Yes, this
and
line.
She's like, Mary Beth picks up the bag and she's like, "Guys," and like kind of stops them from fighting. And she's like, "I think this." What does she say? She's like, "I think this means Shapiro is around here."
Yeah. I think Shapiro was close.
Yeah.
I like when she says, "Won't you go suck off your dad again?"
Yes.
And she says, "Right after you finish."
Yeah, she's like, "I will after you."
Yeah.
It's like, no. Their insults make no sense the whole time.
So Sean slips out of his Asian accent and starts speaking with an American accent.
Yes.
And he's like, "So I haven't been completely honest with you guys." And Marcus punches him and they start fighting. And it's a big fight. They fight back and forth. And they separate. And he's like, "Okay, that's it. I'm tired of this. I want to find out. Everybody better be who they say they are." They find a lighter in Shapiro's bag and they find a flashlight. Like everybody needs. Is anybody else holding any secrets? And it keeps, he swings the flashlight back and forth. And every time he passes over Jenna, she's like, they do this multiple times. And he finally lands on her. He's like, "What do you got to say?" And she says, "I really didn't graduate from NYU. It was my number 1 choice, but I had to go to Hofstra," which is where Adam Green graduated. Film school was Hofstra University.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
She
So-
cries. She's just like, that was my secret.
Yeah.
She just lied about the school that she went to.
Yeah, and they're like, okay, sure. So they go off, and he the next kill basically is is Jenna and Sean. So Victor Crowley attacks again, and this kill is something else. So Victor appears with an electric or a gas-powered belt sander,
Mm-hmm.
and pushes it into Jenna's face, and like sands off her entire chin, essentially.
Ooh.
And then he gets attacked, and he grabs Sean, cuts off his leg with the shovel. So Sean has one leg. He falls down.
He doesn't just cut it off. He like golf swing with a shovel, just bam,
Knocks it
gone.
off.
Leg is just gone. Like,
Yeah, bye-bye. Chops off his leg. And so then he goes over the top of him and puts the shovel on his head and decapitates him, essentially,
yes.
with the shovel. And then he grabs Jenna, who is still alive, by the way, and he impales her on the handle of the shovel, pushes it down until she bleeds out everywhere. What do you think of this kill?
So graphic. Her face being sanded off. Ugh, so nasty. I was like, I can handle the golf swing leg and the decapitated, but her face looks so scary. Just like not having a bottom jaw really freaks me out.
Yeah. And then her actual death with the impaling on the shovel.
So overkill.
Yeah. Definitely. So the remaining survivors we have at this point are Misty, Ben, Marcus, and Mary Beth. And they regroup. And they're like, so we've got to figure out a plan. And Ben says that he remembered seeing gas cans at Victor Crowley's house. So maybe we can light him up. Maybe we can finish him. Because they're like, well, obviously he's not getting, like, he's like, he can be hurt because he stabs him with the pitchfork. And they ran off. So he knows he can be hurt. So they make a plan to go back to the Victor Crowley's house. And he's going to search those gas cans. So they have Misty hold guard outside the door. Ben's inside getting the gas cans, and Marcus and Mary Beth stand back to back with their weapons. And they're like, let's try to distract him. Let's keep him distracted because it was too quiet. And so Marcus starts taunting Victor Crowley, and every time he taunts him, he goes,
yes, so funny.
After every single thing, he's like, I'm going to kick your ass so hard, you're going to be peeling shoelaces out of your teeth for a week.
Yeah. And then he's like, what's the other one? You look like you got molested by wolves.
Yeah. Molested by wolves. So, they hear a noise at first, and they look over. Ben yells about something, and it was a possum or something a raccoon or something on the cans, and he yells at it, and they look over and they're like, Misty, and she goes,
yes,
cracked me up. So then they look over and they see that she's gone. And then Ben just gets hit in the head with her decapitated head.
So freaky.
Then he starts throwing the rest of her limbs at him.
Yes, the torso just
The torso, yeah.
with her like little like tube top, and you can just tell it's her because the tube, like her. I don't think her head actually looked that good.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I was like, because at first I was like, who is that supposed to be? Whose head is that? And then I realized it was like her
tube top, yeah.
Tube top. Ugh, gross.
So he's about to kill Ben, and Mary Beth attacks him with a garden rake and stabs him in the back of the head. And while he's being stabbed by that, Ben pours the gasoline on him. And they all three leave the house, and they throw the lighter at it to catch him on fire. And he ignites, engulfs in flames. And then it starts raining. And Ben says, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." The rain starts, and he says, he's like standing there wanting to watch it. And Mary Beth says, "Hey," grabs him by the face, says, "All this has done is bought us time. We've got to go." So they run, they take off running, and they end up in a cemetery. They see a cemetery. And they're wanting to get on the other side of the gate. So they're like, let's follow this till we get to the entrance. And Crowley attacks him. And he ends up killing Marcus. And which is so sad when he kills Marcus. Because you don't want Marcus to die because you like him so much. He's such a likable character. And Ben is so sad because it's his best friend. And so Victor Crowley gets him in a bear hug and like basically squeezes him to death. Then he picks him by his legs and he slams him up against some tombstone and smashes him.
Brutal.
What do you think of that death?
That's like some Mortal Kombat shit. Like he cuts no arms, rips off his arms.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't cut him off, he rips them off, right?
Yeah, throws them at him.
Throws him at him, and I was like, okay, it's over. And then he picks him up and slams him against a mausoleum or something?
Mausoleum, yeah. Mausoleum wall, and just explodes.
So nasty.
Yeah, it's a good one.
It is a great one. so bad.
So they end up going back. They decide the only way through was back. So they're heading back towards the boat and towards the swamp. And Victor Crowley grabbed one of the wrought iron gate pieces and pulled it out, one of the iron. So as they're like trying to figure out their next move, all of a sudden, iron rod lands into Ben's foot, and Victor Crowley comes out, and he's like all burnt and shit from the fire. He's like yelling at him, and he
roared like a Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah, he did. So they can't get Ben out. Victor Crowley's running towards him, so they bend the bar down, and Victor runs full force into his neck, and gets impaled clear into his neck, and he basically dies. I mean, he doesn't move at all. He's done for the time being. And they basically rip Ben's foot out of it. And so Victor's sitting there, Dunsky. So they end up finding the boat that her dad and Ainsley were on. And they board it. And Ben is all, he's beat up pretty bad. And, she starts to cry. She's feeling all this emotion. And he's like, hey, listen, we made it. We're alive. You have to think about that. We are alive. We made it through. And then all of a sudden she gets pulled into the water. Mary Beth does. She sinks down to the bottom. And he's like hollering at her, Mary Beth. He's starting to reach into the water, trying to find her. And she gets caught on the root. at the bottom of the swamp. So she frees herself from it, and she's like struggling to get up, and she sees Ben's hand reach down in the water, and this music's playing, triumphant music, and she reaches up and grabs his hand, and he pulls her up, and then you reveal that it's Victor Crowley holding Ben's arm, and Ben's laying in the boat with his arm fucking ripped off, and he picks Mary Beth up and he screams in her face, and we cut to black. What do you think of the ending of this movie?
I forgot, honestly. I forgot that it was a cliffhanger like that. It suddenly ends without resolving or without
any resolution.
Anything.
Yeah.
It's just done. Music, fade to black, whatever,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. It cuts off mid-frame. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It's very sudden, and it's not expected. But it is interesting.
It makes you want to see what happens next.
Yes, and I have not seen the second one.
Oh, well, we'll do that before too long.
Yes.
Definitely get into Hatchet 2. For sure.
I saw the trailer, and it looks like I have to see it.
Oh, it's
soon.
great. Hatchet 2 is awesome. So, that is Hatchet. Kane Hodder, of course, plays Victor Crowley and Thomas Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think of his performance in this movie?
Love it. Love Kane Hodder. Amazing.
Who's your favorite character besides Victor?
Okay, who's my favorite character? Oh, I didn't think about that. I think, honestly, I can't think of his name.
Sean?
The tour guide.
Yeah, Sean. Yeah.
Sean is my favorite.
He's really funny. Yeah, he's really funny. I think that, you know what? That might be my favorite character, too. I love Mary Beth, but I like Mary Beth more in the sequels.
Yeah.
Mary Beth is recast in the sequels with Danielle Harris. That's not why I like her more. I just think she has more to do in the sequels. But also, I do love Danielle Harris.
Yeah. I also really like Misty's character.
Misty is really funny, too. And Richard Reel as Jim is great, too.
Yes. And
he's like, come on, Lumpkins, we'll just walk across this log.
Yes, he's so amazing. Okay, so his wife. Yes. I looked her up because I was like, what is she in? Like, everybody in this is in something. So she plays one of a sheep voice in Babe. Which made my heart so happy.
Yeah, that is great. That is so funny.
So that's love her. Everybody's amazing.
Yeah, definitely. So we already know what your favorite kill is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's the jaw rip.
Yes.
Mine too. The jaw rip is one of the best kills in any movie, period. Not only this one. It's Slasher Hall of Fame level death scene.
Yes.
And there's some really great ones in the sequels. Hatchet 2 has some great kills. Hatchet 3 has good ones, and Hatchet 4, Victor Crowley has great ones as well.
Nice.
So, what are your final thoughts on Hatchet? And what would you pumpkin rate this?
Well, I think I really don't have many criticisms of this movie. I think it's wonderfully shot, wonderfully directed, wonderfully cast. It's so rare that you get a movie from this time period where it's kind of directed almost like it should be a bad movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know how to like put it into words exactly, but it seems like because it was maybe cheaply made.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it worked to their advantage very well because obviously couldn't have been that cheap to make this movie. But it was like, maybe it was the camera, maybe it was, I don't know what it is about this movie, but it really, you can tell that everyone there is passionate about this movie, which is insane. But yeah, I'm going to give this movie a 9 pumpkins.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I feel like I would 100% recommend this movie to everyone to watch.
So yeah, you're glad you watched it, obviously then.
Yes, I am very glad.
I will also give this movie a 9. And the only reason I'm giving it a 9 is because I might like the sequel better. So I have to have room to move, right? So 9 out of 10 pumpkins, and that's my second highest rating I think I've given anything. I think Halloween's 10 and Hatchet is 9. I think I gave The Fog fairly high, an 8 or so, because The Fog is fucking great. But yeah, I love Adam Green's Hatchet. It's one of my favorites. It's a happy place movie for me. It puts me in a great mood. I was having a terrible day yesterday, just a bad day at work, bad day at home, bad day, just in general, bad day. Like I got home and I wasn't feeling well and I just was down and I was like, well, I've got to watch Hatchet for the podcast tomorrow, and instantly felt better. Like I watched it, I was like, this is where it's at. Hatchet rules. I texted Derek and said, this movie is so funny, way funnier than it has any right to be. It's just, it's just and I think that's what makes it so appealing, and that's why you like all the characters, is because they endear themselves to you through their humor. So you're immediately like, well, I don't want anything bad to happen to that nice couple. They're an old nice couple, and I really don't want to see anything bad happen to Marcus. He's funny. And then when they eventually get killed, you're half rooting for it because you're like, these kills are amazing.
Yeah.
And then you're like,
you can't help it. You can't help it.
Yeah, you can't.
I love these characters, but I don't even feel bad because I'm like, damn, that's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the jaw rip. That's just a showstopper.
Yes.
Showstopper kill. The way the camera moves around and, it starts with the one way, goes 360 around her. So awesome. When I watched it last night, a funny backstory to Hatchet is they rented these big condors lights, these big condor lights, and they got stuck in the swamp and they couldn't use them.
Ooh.
So they had these big condor lights. So they only had a set of lights, and that's why Adam says it feels like they just run around a corner and shoot, and then they're like away from Victor Crowley, they run around a corner. It's because that's what they had to do. They only had lighting to bunch everybody up. There's a great shot also that I love when they're all walking in the woods at the beginning, and we track each of them. We're here, and then we go to the back to where Ben and Mary Beth are talking. Then we come back to the front. I love that. That's a great camera usage and great way to play a scene as a oneer without cuts, but moving everybody and also keep the momentum going. Great stuff. Love Hatchet. 10 out of 10. Or 9 out of 10. Sorry. 10 out of 10. Can't jump the gun here. We'll get Derek's rating next week for this. Once he is back next week, hopefully. What's on the agenda next week? What do we do?
Okay. All right. So this is your pick next. And so next week we are going to be covering John Carpenter's The Thing.
The Thing, the perfect Christmas movie.
Yes.
So, yes, we are going to be, spoiler alert, probably in another 9-10 territory with next week's episode. John Carpenter's classic 1982 film, The Thing. So, stay tuned for that. Any last words before we sign off, Lydia?
Every time you say any last words,
I know,
I'm like, that panic. It's like, what are my last words?
What do you want in your tombstone?
Yeah, I'm like about
pepperoni.
To be murdered. Any last words? Okay. Follow us on social medias.
All of the social medias.
Comment. We will respond. We really want to get a dialogue going. I think it'll be super fun.
Share. We want it to expand across the universe so aliens know who we are for their inevitable conquering of this terrible world.
The aliens, yeah, like they want this. Yeah, exactly. Aliens will like our podcast, though, so they'll keep us around.
Especially after we do The Thing. They're like, oh, shit, they know all about us.
Oh, yeah, they're good.
Yeah, they're good. They've done their research. They've done their research. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, click, and comment. Other than that, we will sign off for today. We'll see you next week with The Thing. For Derek Lemaster and Lydia Judy, I'm Jamie Hiles. And remember, if you're going to scream bloody movies. Oh, we were right on time. That was really good.
No way.
Scream bloody movies. Good night, folks.